Hi, Kel. Yeah, I just want to give you some feedback on your proposal. It's certainly looking a lot clearer than it was, which is really great to see you kind of untangling the variables now. So does initial familiarity with content decrease the time taken to recall information? Yep, really nice answerable question, very simple. That's good. What I've done is I've just bolded it because it's quite important, and we want the marker, the reader, to really stand out, for that information to stand out for them. So the purpose of the investigation is to test the hypothesis that initial familiarity with content decreases the time taken to recall information. In this case, the recollection of lyrics from popular nursery rhymes. The investigation will be quantitative observational. That's good. But straight after that, I want you to describe what are the features that make it this design type, just to show that you really understand what that design type is. So you can say the fact that you're using pre-existing groups, and you're not directly manipulating the variable, but you're using the pre-existing groups to be the independent variable. Oh, indices, it's pre-existing groups. I like the fact that you go straight into describing the sample next. But again, just that little bit more detail. How many were in the sample? Where were they from? Now you've said the groups of participants within the experiment are pre-existing. Okay, I just felt like we needed to tease this out a little bit more, because it was just getting a little bit confusing, and needed more clarity. So instead of saying participants, which one does that look? Where am I? Replace with created. So yeah, what I want you to say is that the groups were created within so the groups created are pre-existing based on their familiarity. Okay, you haven't done anything. That's how the groups have been created that you're going to compare. So the groups were created based on the pre-existing stuff. Now, you've got to be very careful with terms like experiment, because it's got a specific meaning when we are talking about research methods in psychology. And as you know, an experiment is something that has a manipulated independent variable. This study doesn't. So instead of calling it an experiment, just replace it with the word investigation, and that's going to stop any confusion there. The final thing in this sentence that needs a little bit of just tweaking is the fact that you've said, based on their familiarity. That makes sense, I get it, but it just lacks clarity. So instead of using their, replace it with participants so that we know exactly who you're talking about. Okay, and again, I have just bolded that up because it's really important information that you've brought out there, and it shows that you can use the psychological terms effectively. The two factors observed, definitely column variables, and you could say, you know, the dependent variable will be the time taken to recollect and recite each segment. And then, now we're not really looking at a relationship as such, it's more of a comparison. So I've just got you to replace that with comparison, and between the recollection and their initial familiarity. Now again, this, yep, you're absolutely right. It just needs more information to give the reader clarity in what you're meaning. Okay, a lot of what your idea is, it's up in your head and it makes sense, but we've got to get that on paper as well. So between the recollection time, and then you can say, and which is measured in seconds. Okay, just give that, detail that's missing at this stage. Yeah, so that's all looking good. And what is missing from here is how you're going to present this data to me. Okay, so that's fine. We can talk about how you want to present the data, but it seems quite clear from here that you have got, you're going to have two groups. So you're going to have the familiar group and the unfamiliar group. You're comparing them, so you probably want the familiar and the unfamiliar data on the data sets on the same graph. And you have, what have you done with the data? Let me just double check. You're looking at the different, so 3 trials, increasing the number of syllables they'll be required to recall. So you'll basically graph trial 1, trial 2, then trial 3. In trial 1, that would be, I imagine, the smallest amount of information, and you would have 2 columns, one that says the mean score for familiarity, one that says the mean score for the unfamiliar group. Okay, so what you need to say here is this data will be presented using column graphs, and describe what the column graphs, how you're going to use that data to compare it. And also you need to say that you will include a descriptive statistic summary table, which will include a summary of the number of participants, the mean for each group, the maximum score, the minimum score, and standard deviation if you're comfortable with it, or range if you're not quite got your head around standard deviation. Okay, so that's the next step. So you're going really well. Hopefully this helps get some clarity around it, and then yeah, when you've finished updating this, we'll take the next step. Okay, all right, good luck with it, and yeah, get back to me as soon as you've fixed up this bit, and we'll go on to the next section. Okay, take it easy, Kill. Speak soon. See ya.